How you doing?
I'm good.
How you feeling since the last episode?
I mean, I feel ready.
Oh my gosh.
Moving between the sheets.
I like what you're wearing though, I must say.
Thanks. Thanks.
I see you.
So no,
Nice and silky. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
So today we are going to talk about finance, trust, and finance.
How did I trust you with my £5?
How did you trust me? How did you trust me not to spend off all your money?
Oh, yeah, didn't tell anybody. That's right.
Oh wow.
Episode finished. Don't tell them nothing. Hide it all. Yes, that's a wrap.
That's what you do. Just don't tell them nothing. Just that's it. That's not how it goes, mate. That's not. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. No.
So obviously, when we got married, I think the key things that we did financially was to create a joint account. And one of the things I would say to people is the joint account is helpful in terms of communicating and seeing where everything is, but it can pose its problems if you don't have clear things around it. But through God's greatness, the first business, favor, we get to the point where we've bought our first house. Yeah. And the government changed to, I can't remember exactly what year it is, about 2011.
2010, 2011, yeah. So we just moved in 2010, I think it was October.
No more money, used all the money on deposit. We was literally no fridge, no nothing.
Yeah, we got a house that the builders built, and you know how some people can pick their like flooring and their carpet. They were like, oh no, we just bought the house. There was no carpet down. There was there was no nothing. There's no appliances.
But I remember
beautiful magnolia shell.
Yeah, it was great. But I remember, I think within 3 months, 3-4 months of moving in, I've had to close down the business, make all the staff redundant, and things spiraled out of control, literally overnight. Yeah. Because we'd missed 3 consecutive payments. Poof. Before I know it, there's a bailiff at the door. And they're saying, Mr. Dennis, you've missed your council tax bill, and if you don't pay, we're looking to take some stuff away. And how was that for you? That them times?
That was horrible. I remember that day because obviously the bailiffs had been more than once. So she female, came, and I opened the door, and I think I was pregnant. And we had this one car left of all the cars that you'd had for the business and whatever. And she said, I'm going to take the car. I was like, you can't take the car. We need the car. Well, I'm going to take the car. And she was so vile to us. Like, she was horrible. And I remember actually phoning you and screaming down the phone, they're going to take the car. They're going to take the car. We need to sort this out. Like, everything was upside down. But I think for me, more so, I was really in a place of kind of like shock and disbelief, and also my trust in you in terms of how you ran the business and stuff was starting to like completely dwindle. Yeah,
because I think that started to open up a whole kind of worms that of like the lack of communication, because obviously you wasn't a part of the first business, so I didn't really talk about what was happening. So what had happened, obviously, when I came to faith, became a born again Christian, God had blessed, like I can't deny, like when, you know, churches talk about, you know, giving your tithes and your offering and trusting God, like God did, like there was so much amazing work and opportunities that was coming to us. But one of the things I failed to do was really what we now understand in business called a pest analysis, where you look at the political, environmental, social, and technology kind of environments, what are happening, and try and make an assessment about how what's happening politically in the environment is going to affect your business. I did not realize that when Labour had lost the seat of power and Conservatives came in, how much that would overnight just make, you know, austerity measures was announced. So all of our clients that I was working with just disappeared overnight. I remember sending out our normal end of financial year emails to clients, and I started to get all these replies back from all the clients saying, sorry, no longer work here. And I was like, what is going on?
So all these government departments that you had contracts with at the time,
and housing departments and
completely
stuff that
didn't
exist overnight, lost their jobs, and I didn't know what to do. And then what I did was like using my kind of faith was like trusting God that he would turn it around, but not really doing due diligence. So I remember at the time when I first started that organization, stroke business, you know, I went to the bank to try and get a, you know, startup loan. Bank wasn't interested. After kind of like money started to come in, remember the bank manager used to call, Mr. Dennis, you'd like to have a chat, you know, with, you know, now because money's in there. I would like to give you an overdraft, like to give you a credit card. And I remember one of the times when one of our clients was paying us late, I did use an overdraft just to fill in a shortfall for wages bill. But long story short, business started to fail and money wasn't coming in. And I started to go into the overdraft. And I went in literally, I think up to like 12, 30, I was like 15K into the overdraft. I've had to shut the business, can't pay the household bills, and I'm stressed. And the truth of the matter, I was depressed. But what was harder was that I had to kind of like communicate everything, show you the numbers, show you what had happened. Obviously, you was annoyed, you was angry. And then, thank God, I was able to get some support through, shout out to the Citizens of Vice Bureau, now called Citizens of Vice, who I remember going to that first meeting, just telling them the truth of what happened. And the man was just so calm. So that was after the bailiff came. So they're going to take the car. And I spoke to my advisor and he says, oh, no problem. Here's some letter templates. Just offer all your creditors a pound a month and they legally have to kind of accept it. And I was like, what? And it says, why don't you just sign on, because you can go to interest only with the mortgage, and through signing on, they can help and they will pay the interest. And for me, that was just such a relief, like mentally, emotionally. I felt like I was starting to breathe. And then obviously I was given a job opportunity. Shout out to Bringing Hope Charity as well, who approached me and gave me a job to be able to start building back up.
Yeah, it was horrible. You know, that season of uncertainty. I think for me, I remember it like yesterday. We were sitting in the kitchen and I was sat at the table. You was washing up and I was sitting there. You were telling me, just like while you were washing up, how much, what it was, like how much everything was, how much the corporation tax, the debt, the overdraft, credit cards, all of this stuff. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how can we be in this situation? How did we get from that of success and things looking like they're going well?
There was, and shout out to it was going well. It went well.
Obviously, because we was in a position to buy a house, so things were definitely going well. But I remember at the time feeling like, how could we go from that to that? And it seemed to have happened so fast. Like the rapid decline was like straight downhill, and it crashed.
It's mad, and I think even though we're not focused on business, I think we should bring in some perspectives. It's that pest analysis is really looking at your business and really understanding what is happening. Like for now, I think the biggest challenge for businesses globally is technology. When you look at that pest analysis, because everyone's like online deliveries, people are not really going to the high street. So every business from different perspectives has to kind of use a pest analysis to really assess what's happening around them and how would that impact on their business today. Because you can't keep on thinking that your money is just going to come from the same sources that it's already come from. And I you know, that was my biggest regret, like not doing that and not having open and transparent conversations from earlier. Because realistically, if I had advice, you know, biblically it talks about the safety in a multitude of counselors. If I had gone and got counsel earlier, would have got help. You know, shout out to Hugh. He reached out to me during those early, I think God must have led him to, but because of my pride, and I really didn't know him, I didn't really want to talk to him about stuff, you know, because I was ashamed. Really, like I don't want to tell you like what's going on. I was embarrassed. But he was a lifesaver. He helped us work through things, talk through things, understand how to manage stuff, and like put systems in place. But yeah, that was a very, very hard season. And I think it's important for us to share that, because like People are saying now, the people seeing things now in it, and they just think it was some rose garden.
No. That was thorns. That was thorny. That was sharp. It was painful. It was all the financial principles, I guess, that we kind of put into place now have come about because we have actively been through some things that are incredibly traumatic. So closing a business, your first company, your first baby, letting people go, there's so many layers, there's so many things. Like, so it wasn't just the finance now that we're dealing with, the lack of finance, so I'm also dealing with the lack of you, because you're in this deep dark place. And there's this film, I'm sure we watched it together, called The Company Men, that both were high flying guys and then they lose their jobs, and one of them kept going back to do the same thing, like putting on his suit, getting his briefcase and pretending like he's going to go back to this job that no longer exists. And the other guy, later when he has to take a humble job with his dad and do carpentry. I think it's called The Company Men. And you was like that, you for ages. And we're like, Nathan, there's no money. Stop sending emails, like the businesses are not interested. We have to stop.
Yeah, I was in denial for ages. And I think the book that helped me was Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
Because that is the story about this mouse that for years was getting fed by this cheese station, and all of a sudden the cheese ran out, and one mouse was decided to keep going back to that same place where the all was being fed. Then another mouse came up with an idea to say, let's go through this maze a different way and see if I can find new cheese. But I was so fixated on this was working for so many years. I had so much money come from that. How can this be completely finished? And I tried to the detriment. You got to look at the Excel spreadsheet. What is the finances saying?
Bottom line.
And I wish I did that before in 2011. Yeah. I didn't. I was all this, emotions attached to it. But moving on a bit, yeah. So we've gone through that experience.
Yeah.
Through the grace of God, praying, got a job. Remember Humbly was doing some support care work.
Yeah.
Used to do some mad shifts. So I used to
leave on a Friday.
Friday.
And come back on Monday morning at 7.
Come back Monday. And no, it wasn't at Sunday. I used to go to Bringing Hope straight away. So it was in the evening, innit?
Whatever, it was back late. Yeah. Because it basically went that we was passing each other.
Yeah, so we didn't really see each other during that season, but we just knew we needed to bring in some money to pay our bills.
Yeah.
And then the impossible started to happen. I started to feel that God is saying to me to go back self-employed.
Jeez and peace.
And I'm like having these visions, and I feel God is talking to me at church and saying, Nathan, I want you to do first class again. I'm like, nah. I had to really be obedient to what God was saying to me. And then I kind of started to speak to you, and I said, you know what, Sabrina, when I started the business first time, it was only one child, innit?
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to restart with 4 children. House over her head. I says, God, I can't do it. And I said, the only way I'm going to do this is Sabrina's with me, because that faith level that it takes to kind of step out in faith and talk about you starting a business was I just didn't have enough confidence. That's the truth. I knew that there were certain skills that helped the other business work, and that was around administration and stuff like that. And I don't have that. I can give to the gap. I can, I can sell water to a well. I can sell sand to the deserts. I can, that's what I do. But all the administration stuff, not really a strength. And do you tell me about that? Because you wasn't on it for ages.
I wasn't on it. Straight.
Vexing me up.
Straight, we could just say, I am not doing it, full stop. That was it. I didn't want to. I didn't really. I had to work through trusting your vision again. That is hard when the vision popped down catastrophically.
And let's be honest, I'm not even 100% trusting it myself.
So you want me to follow you now to do this madness again? And I'm thinking, but there's so much more at stake.
You don't understand. I remember, because obviously we had the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember at least 3 to 4 times going to the altar and saying, God, are you really telling me to leave this job and go back again? And I'd hear yes, and I'll go back the next week, and I'm like, are you sure? I couldn't.
So now we're not trusting the word of God either. We're just not trusting nothing.
I'll be honest, horrible. I couldn't believe that God was telling me to go back again.
Yeah.
I was like, but didn't you see what happened before? And God says, nah, I'm going to make a way. I'm going to show you a way. And then obviously, my kind of negotiation with God was like, yo, Sabrina has to be with me on this. If I'm going to do it, Sabrina has to be with me. You was like being hardcore.
I was adamant, no.
Well, I went into prayer and fasting. So I started to pray, and I started to pray, and I said, God,
not the prayer and fasting.
You have to talk to Sabrina because I can't do it. And then all of a sudden, one day, you suddenly had a change of mind. Hello!
I don't think it was even like a change of mind. I think it was like Nathan's not gonna stop asking, and all right then. It wasn't even like gonna be a part of this thing. I'm just gonna help you a little bit from the sidelines, because that's what you said. He's like, it's all right, just help me do this then. It's like, can you just help me with the invoicing? That was where he started me off. Look at that, he started me off with the money.
Started with the money.
Started me off with the finance, started me off with the invoicing and the infrastructure. And I was like, so where's the software? He's like, I've been using this invoicing app. I'm like, that's just an app to send invoices. There's nothing. So I kind of started, once she gave me the first big thing, that obviously just send the invoices this and this person. And I'm like, but there's no way of me monitoring.
You know what? Thank you.
That's when I started to dig deep.
Thank you. Because the harsh reality is, I'll be honest, like there wouldn't be no new rebirth in a first class if you didn't come on board. I can't manage this vision like by myself, and I think that's important for people, couples, people who, even if you're not a couple and you're listening to this, is that you can't do these visions by yourself. You have to have a team. You have to find people that have skills that you don't have to be able to carry it. And I would just really encourage people to like really think about building team and working in collaboration. But with the finances now, like, because I really want people to kind of like understand how we birth some of the things that we do now quite like religiously. And it all came out of different challenges. So if you think of our top 3 things, which is our weekly meetings, our culture of giving, and what would you say the last one is? Budgets. So let's just talk about that. Let's talk about the budget one, actually.
Why saying that with a smirk on your face? Like, I gave her a budget for food because, we do. We have to have budgets. We have to have things put in place, because I was not always no, I'm going to rephrase that. We were not always.
You don't have to fight. You just hold your truth and I'll bring mine in.
We weren't great at managing finance. Well, we just talked about a business.
Listeners.
Listeners. So it's the truth.
Listeners, let me tell you something. Sabrina's a person before where she goes into the shop.
Sale.
And she just says she's going to buy a box of cereal.
But I'm never going to
Why are you coming out of the shop with 3 to 4 bags?
Because
talking about this was on the sale. So these things cause problems in the relationship.
It's true, especially when the budget has not been fixed for certain things.
So let's go back.
But
so there became a situation when the children much younger, you're buying up the tights and socks every minute from Matalan. And you're saying, oh, I've seen this little dress or these nice tights.
Can I ask a question? Why do you always say I was buying socks and tights?
Because that's what I remember every minute I look.
I feel like this big old pile of socks and tights.
I don't know why you and these tights and these little... Anyway, these lovely little children stuff, girl stuff. But what happened was we're starting to make a bit of money. I'm working. And we've put enough money in the joint account. But then certain things are starting to happen. The Sky bill or
something,
the TV license or something's bouncing. And we're like, what is going on? And I remember we investigated, we printed out the statements, we looked through it with a fine tooth comb, added it all up. And it was all these little taps I was doing at Subway, these little £3, £4, £5, tap in a week. I was spending I don't know. Let's just say I went to Subway 3 times a week. Say it's about £15, just under £15.
Yeah.
You're going Matalan spending, say, £20, £35. You see, I'll give you the most.
I'm obviously spending more, guys.
So then, all right, just say £30.
Yeah. Point
3,
is,
6,
12, it's adding up.
15, 8, you know what I'm saying? There's nearly £200, right? It's going out a month, and it's like the money is going, and we didn't realize because we're just doing these little £3 to £4
we had put
taps.
Everything into that one account.
Yes.
And not thought about, actually, well, the girls might need something, or you might want lunch for something, or there might be a birthday coming up, someone's birthday party. We hadn't thought about life eventualities happening,
Yeah,
so
and
we
the
just
money
put,
will just run out. It's just
that's
like
it.
somehow the things are bouncing. So that's one of the things that started to happen. That's why we
Mm.
started to put in the budget in principle. Then go back to the number one, which is about regular financial meetings.
Yeah.
I realized that when I was trying to broker financial conversations with
At
one
8
would
o'clock in the morning.
sometimes one would be quite frosty with me.
Yes.
And, you know, quite short and snappy. So I prayerfully consulted the Lord.
You needed to consult the Lord.
Yes, because I was like, these conversations are a bit too,
Yeah.
they're a bit too sharp. They're not going down the right direction. We're feeling like we're accusing each other.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a conversation. It was more like pointing the finger.
Yes.
You're spending money on this, well, you're doing that. And actually, no, we both need to get to grips with what we're doing.
We come up with this concept of regular meetings, in it, weekly. And then we'll go into it in a bit, but like the policies that we started to create. And then the last thing is about a culture of giving. Yeah, being Christians, born again Christians, we truly believe, and it's our honor really, that we pay our tithes regular. We're regular tithe payers, which is, for those who don't know, and not a part of that kind of culture, is where basically we give 10% of all of our income and we give it to the ministry, the church, and we also on top of that give what we call offerings. But what we've really done now, how we are around it now, is that every week we prayerfully consider, is there anyone within our network or is anyone being laid on our heart where we can help them. So there's a lot of things we've done in private. Countless people bought groceries for, give gifts, do things. That's what we do weekly as a kind of like lifestyle. But let's just go back a bit then with the weekly meetings.
Finance Friday.
Yeah, Finance Fridays.
It is a very important day, very important time, and it's Finance Friday does not take the whole of Friday anymore. But when we first started this, it was very much a case of we're going to take a little bit of time because we're not used to getting into the rhythm. But we do have an agenda, so we open up in prayer. Everything we do, especially when you're talking about money, it's a bit hard. So,
well, before you go for the agenda, can I just remind everybody about what we did in the first one? This might sound extreme for our listeners, for those who are watching, but we actually decided to write a policy for every single bank card that we own. And we wrote out rules that the joint account is only for bills, and we shall not, A, go to the barbershop with this money.
B, go to Subway.
C, go to the hairdressers.
Buy no hair, personal expenses.
No nails are allowed from the joint account. Then what else? What other accounts?
We had a food budget.
Yes.
So for us, one of our biggest expenses is food. Obviously, we're a family of 6.
One of them, it's not the biggest, but it's one of them.
One of the biggest expenses is food. Well, outside of everything else, but food is a big deal, and so we set a budget up for that, and that has a separate bank card. So the food money that we set aside is a separate bank account. And if I'm away or someone's got to go food shop, then
so the writing on the policy for that would be this bank account is only for food, groceries, like literally ridiculously. And then with the business accounts, we write a policy like this is for business spend. These are the things that you should spend and not spend on. And then we created the agenda. Go on.
So I was going to say, in reflection, taking it a little bit further back, there was a reason why we even had to do that. And I illustrate this in my book. So we talk about a time when we had kind of like it seemed like the brakes were put on our finances. So like we was in the business, owed a lot of money from different people. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And it was like in prayer, we needed to work out our bad habits, our actual financial bad habits.
Yes, I remember that.
So we sat down, do you remember? And it wasn't a case of you do this, Sabrina, or Nathan, you do that. It was more like, okay, we're going to write down what we think our own personal bad habits are. And then we're going to write down what we think each other's are.
I actually remember what triggered that. It was actually a conference. And for those who was a part of that conference, will probably be shocked to hear this. So basically, we had been paid a few grand to put on a conference. And me, with my big heart, decided that I wanted to pay every speaker and pay every speaker well. Remember? And then I put in and I bought good food for the conference. And I've just done that, and I didn't do an Excel spreadsheet, but I just worked it out. I was like, this is good money that we're getting paid to do this event. I can pay the speakers, I'm trying to say, and pay them like what they want. And then I remember, like, when we reconciled everything, Like I spent the whole budget on paying everybody but ourselves. And you was quite furious about that. Like, Nathan, what's going on here? We can't be getting a contract or getting a bit of work, and like you've just spent it out on speakers. So we had to kind of address that was my bad habit.
Identified within you, one of your habits is you love to help and love to give and want to pay people their worth or whatever it is, but that doesn't always work for the budgets that we've got. So it was identifying that, and one of the things that on the flip side of that is that you would see is that I would then firefight some of your decisions that you'd made by like using a credit card or going into an overdraft to kind of put back money where you'd spent the money on blessing people or giving to people. So we had to go through that whole process, and then it was from that we decided on the policy. This is how we're going to use our accounts, and this is what we can spend on.
And then you was talking about the agenda. So do you want to just talk about the agenda for the weekly meeting?
So our agenda for our weekly meeting starts with prayer. It's on a Friday morning. We then go through the balances of all of our accounts, business and personal. We have our own money, personal money, so that we don't have to share that if we don't want to. That's up to us. We keep that, and then the business stuff, we talk about those things. So there's invoices that are due to be paid, invoices that we have to pay, payments that we've received. We always pray about giving to someone or anybody that needs something. We look at matters arising. So, back in the day, we'd get all our bills and there'd be piles and piles of envelopes.
Correspondence, we call it, innit?
But we open up all the correspondence. Well, I opened up that anyway now. But back before, it was a bad habit. I never used to open anything.
Yeah, just leave it
and
there.
Just leave it there to pile up. But now we go through everything, know where everything's at. And then the last thing we do is, the giving thing. We think about that, matters arising, so things in the house that might need replacing and fixing.
So from my perspective, and what I want listeners to get from that is that what I think has been transformational for our marriage and our relationship and our business actually is the fact that there's no emotion attached to this weekly financial meeting.
Not
Before, they used to be like quite frosty. It would just be me reacting to something that I've seen or you reacting. Now what I will do within the week is a financial issue, or if it's something that I need to get paid, I'll just wait to that meeting and bring all of my actions, and if there's any concerns, I just bring it to that meeting, and we kind of have it's like a very businessy meeting. There's no emotion. It's very, very, let's follow the agenda, matter of fact, and it's very open and transparent. We know all the balances of our accounts. We know what's happening. We know what actions we need to take. If we see any shortfalls, we can make an action plan to say, look, we need to drive some more sales in this area because we need to cover off some things that are coming up, and we look at the cash flow monitoring system that we have. And I would say, like, it doesn't have to be a Friday for people listening or watching, is that, look, find a regular time as a couple where you sit down and talk about your finances. The other thing that happened in that time is the JAR system, which I think is important, which is now bank accounts. So we got to a point where, like, we're really trying to manage our money better. 5 large glass jars, we put them in our kitchen, and there was a season of time whereby we would take out all our cash that we earned, and we would have 5 labels. So the first jar would have a 10% label on there for tithe. Another jar would be the word investment on there and 10%. And then the next jar, the third jar, would be 5% leisure. Leisure and pleasure or something like that. They just call leisure in it, I think.
It was like fun money.
Fun money to do fun things, go out to eat. And then another 5% was for
saving to spend.
Yes, saving
to
spend.
So the investment one, it was a money jar that you would never touch. But say you were saving up for a holiday or something, that was saving to spend. So you put 5% in there, and then the rest.
And then the last 70% was just bills.
Yeah.
So then what happened? We'd done that for quite a while, and we had real life situations whereby I remember, like, there's a couple £100 or even £1,000 in, say, like the investment jar, and then a couple £100 in like the saving jar, but the money was finished in the bills. You remember? And like we'd make the bills.
You couldn't
bounce.
pay the bill,
even though
there was money everywhere else.
We'd make the direct debits bounce. We would make a plan of action.
Yeah.
Because you was baking.
We need
them
to make
days.
some money.
Yeah.
We need to plan what we're gonna do.
So back then you was back when
I was
we
baking cakes and selling cakes. So I'd send a message out.
WhatsApp
I'm baking
everyone.
over this weekend, only because I know that I've got to make up this shortfall, and that's how.
And that was beautiful days, really. Like I take my hat off, like we did it. Like you'd be baking up the chocolate concretes, cupcakes. We get all the orders over the weekend, get that money in, and then put the money into the jars, and then build up the jar back, and then take the money out to go and pay the bills.
Yeah.
But now, and where we are now, is that even though we started off with 5 jars, it's roughly, I don't know.
We did try and add this up the other day.
But it's over 12.
It's about 12 different accounts
that we now have in it.
Yeah.
Which are now
manage.
Physical bank accounts.
Yeah.
That use the same principles that we started.
Yeah.
When we had the jar system.
So every income, we divide it up. It goes across the businesses. It goes up personally. You know, we have personal savings. We have joint savings. We do it for our children that have the same thing applied for them as well. So in their little accounts that they have, they get birthday money to divide it up, because it's about the discipline,
stewardship. It's about stewarding, and I think a lot of people, they talk about in the cultures, fumble the bag. I don't think people fumble the bags. They fail to manage. They fail to prepare, and they fail to manage the resources that they've had. Because if you look at it, when everyone looks at their money that they've had, actually we've had money. And I think that's an important principle I want people to understand, is about putting a system in place that helps you to manage the resources that you've got.
For us, it's helped us massively, because we recognize that we've got bad habits. Physically, you have to put yourself in a position where it's going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah. But what would you say were some of your, the key things that you'd like people to take away from that?
I think once you start having that weekly conversation, and even if it's not weekly, but it could be monthly or however often you do it, you'll start to feel a little bit more clear about your financial goals and plans for yourself. I think you'll also identify the areas that you need to fix up on. It's automatic for me every Friday to just, even if we're not having the physical meeting, to go through that calendar, go through that schedule, just to see where things are. Gives you peace of mind. It's not sticking your head in the sand when things are going to happen.
Yeah, and those are the bad habits.
That's a bad habit. You just don't open a letter, or you know that something's got to come. So I know when things are due. I know when payments are pending. I know when things are outstanding. It just brings a lot of peace. I prefer it that way.
Definitely bring order, sort it out, because I feel like once things are, I really believe in this. It's not a scripture, but God don't bless a mess. No. And I think when our financial systems are in a mess, then it's not gonna come how you think it's gonna come. No, but I think,
but even if it does, it doesn't last.
Yeah, because you're just gonna. It's like putting money into, or it's like when you put water into a bucket full of holes.
Yeah, just
like create and develop your systems. The thing I probably want to talk about just for this section is the culture of giving. A seed answers things that money can't answer, and people's like, "What do you mean?" I says,
"Yeah, what do you mean?"
Yeah, because I know that's very Christian.
That's very deep. What is that?
So I was praying, and God gave me this revelation to say that there's things that money can't buy, but a seed can answer for you, or money can't answer, but a seed can. And God was challenging me on the culture of giving, like me being able to give to others, give to people, and is almost like an analogy of like using my money as a seed. That if I could plant and sow my seed into other people's lives, or into people's businesses, or into different ground, you could reap and harvest when you don't expect it. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why, like, I just have this abundant mindset that actually the more I give is actually the more I get. A lot of people are trying to hold on to their money, and I just think it just dissolves, and they're like, where did it go?
Can I ask you a question?
Go.
So, because is there a balance between giving to get? Do you give to get, or do you just give because you want to give?
It's out of the joy of my heart, to be honest. It's out of love. So like when I obviously developed my relationship with Christ, and I just felt that abundance of like what everything that God had given me, and this love and this ability to make income. I just wanted to share that love to someone, because I've always just wanted to be like, it's kind of like, I can't explain. It's like I just love being able to help someone. I just love that feeling to like seeing someone's face, and like that's making a difference. Like I've seen how people's faces when like we've helped people, like we've sowed a seed for their wedding.
Oh yeah.
Or we've like dropped off groceries and just done a secret grocery shop to people, and they're like, huh? I just feel like I want to be God's hands and feet and just like just demonstrate His abundance and His love.
Okay.
So yeah,
So that means you have to have a lot to be able to do. You have to have an overflow or an abundance to be able to give from that.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
No.
So how do you say? What would you say then?
No,
Because
because
I'm conscious of the people that might be listening to this who would hear this and be like, "Well, I don't have no money to give to help no one. So how does it work then?"
Babes, because when there was nothing, like, and we got £5, we would still have the discipline, especially the tithe, and still trust
That's
God
just automatic.
and give God 50p out of that £5.
Yeah.
There was times when, like, these are real stories now, if you want to be real, about testimony around faith and trust. The biggest one was our house. So we're trying to get a house.
Mm-hmm.
We're saving a deposit.
Yes.
God starts to tell me to start giving this deposit away.
I remember.
So I helped someone with their wedding.
You helped me bought washing machines.
I bought a washing machine for a person. Basically, this is what my heart is telling me to do. Don't make no sense.
Can you see why we have systems though?
Yeah. Don't make no sense. So, recapping. Saving. And then I feel God saying to me, can you start to give some people this money? And I was like, huh? Could we saving for a deposit for a house? And God, it sounds stupid, isn't it? Like when I say it now, it sounds ridiculous.
It sounds like to anybody who is on the housing ladder trying to buy a house that you started to give away their mortgage, this relationship is over. The mortgage deposit. That's how it sounds like. If you think about what you said, like we've saved up some money.
Yeah, I think it was about 5-7 because I think it was about 5% deposit, isn't it? Them times for the mortgage. But yeah, and God instructs me to give it away. And then, very long story short, because it's long and we need an episode for it, God did an amazing thing for us whereby we were short for the deposit overall for this house, and the home builders decided to transfer, I think it was £5,500 to our solicitors to help us complete, and with our money that we had saved to get the house.
Yeah.
But I personally believe that was a direct answer to prayer and this concept of like when you trust God and you put God first. There was a time, if you remember, another story whereby we're kind of like things are starting to turn around, but we're not really paying our tithes because we're just paying for our bills.
We're trying to keep our head above water.
And I remember you saying to me, Nathan, I don't care what happens, just don't touch the food money. Because like, there must be food. Oh gosh,
I remember this. Oh, I remember this so much. Yeah. Oh man.
So that was like a rule. You said to me, Nathan,
you can do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want, but don't touch the food budget. Because I can't stand when there's no shopping.
And there's too many people's mouths that are
need
hungry.
To be fed. Yeah. So I'm praying. I get up one morning, as I do. I'm praying and I'm journaling. And I feel God convicting me and saying, Nathan, shall a man rob God? And I'm like, huh? And then I realize it's in the book of Malachi in the Bible. And it says, shall a man rob God? What you've robbed me in tithes and offering. And it's like it boxed me in my mouth. In the morning, I was like, oh, I'm not paying my tithes or my offering. Oh my God. It's dun dun dun. So I pray, I hear, and I remember you woke up and I said, Sabrina, I need to speak to you. I said, just hear me out. Look, I truly believe, I know you don't like this one, but I truly believe God is telling me that we need to start paying our tithes. But to pay our tithes, I'm going to have to touch the food money. And you was like, okay, take it. So I took
it all.
So I took the food money and I paid the tithe.
Yes.
And gave it to church.
That's hard though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was hard.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're gonna deal with whatever has to happen then, because I don't know what we're gonna do.
It sounds so easy now when you're listening or hearing us, but there's a lot of doubt within me because I thought I heard God before. Is that making sense? When I was trying to, when the first business was failing, I thought I was hearing God, but really it was just myself and my pride and my ego. So it's being able to make sure I'm really hearing. You're a bit nervous because you're like, is this the right thing? But anyway, we did it. We took the money, paid our tithes, and we were sitting at the kitchen table. You remember that day? And we had told nobody this. And all of a sudden, we're seeing this as the delivery van, because where we sit in our kitchen, you can literally see outside. And we're seeing this beep, beep, that big reverse sound.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we heard the door knock, do, 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 do. And he says, is this number? And they said the number, and are you Mr. And I says, yeah. I said, yeah, I've got some shopping for you. And we was like, what? And then all of a sudden, pallets of food just arrived to the house.
Yeah.
And then we found out who blessed us at the time. And we was like, how can you done that? And he says, I don't know. We just felt led. I was just there, and I thought, you know what?
And that's happened more than once, hasn't it?
Yes. I'm going to send some shopping to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so all that money that we spent to put into the tithe, God had sent a blessing. I think that same week, JR, she came around with bags of the, tarts and stuff like that.
Yeah, jam tarts.
Jam tarts.
She'll know who she is if she hears that. Yeah, jam tarts and pizza.
It was just.
And that happened to be the weekend of Rihanna's birthday, and I didn't know what I was going to do for the food. And then she came and she bought cakes, jam tarts, and pizza. Happened to be their favorite thing. So God definitely does always answer prayer, but it's in the time when you're doing that. Yeah. It is hard. It's not like we're saying that in a way that's like now it's quite easy, and well, at the time I remember feeling.
I think it's still like
feeling quite. Oh my gosh, was there anything left that isn't going to be taken?
Well, I think tithes, offerings, the ability to give is all about the condition of your heart.
Look at your face.
Yeah.
Look how excited you're getting.
Because I'm clocking it. I'm trying to understand it. What it is that God wants to see your heart. Before you have increase, or he's going to pour out a blessing or give you access to more resources, it's like an almost test to say, like, do I have your heart? And he's going to say, are you able to let go of that 5K and give it away? Because then maybe 50K won't come.
True.
Does that make sense? Because it's about the obedience. It's about where our heart is. Is my heart so attached to finances that I can't give it away? Do I see it as mine? And actually, I don't see it as that. I see that ultimately within our whole life, that God is the ultimate CEO of our life, and we try our hardest to live in obedience to that. And that's why categorically, I know some people look at us and think, how are they doing all of that? It's God. That's the harsh reality. It's like, you can't.
There's no way we could be doing that.
Yeah, like none the favor,
none of this comes from our amazing, powerful mind to know that this is how it's going to go. Yeah. Like, we get an idea, a vision, a thought, and then even in all of that, the thread is discipline and obedience. So like you might hear something, you might pray in the morning, and God will say to you, yeah, you got to give your tithes and offering. He can say anything he wants to say, but we have to act on it.
Yeah.
And that's where the difference is. So we've had to make hard decisions. We've had to do some difficult things. So going back and having like that finance meeting and talking about all our bad habits and whatever, and then setting things in place. You can do all that, but then you have to have the discipline to follow it through. And that's why you start to see the fruit of that.
Yeah.
I think.
So my kind of thing that I would want to encourage anyone that's listening or watching is, especially if you have faith or you've been a part of a faith, like, listen, God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all you can think and imagine. And I can proudly, with my chest, say that I have seen the goodness of God. I have seen that if you're faithful in the little, he will make you, master over much. And, I've been young and I've been old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken.
We're going to church.
Nor his seed begging bread.
And take us to church.
You have to, because I think it'll be dishonorable to not honor God in this episode properly, because when the home builders paid for us to go and move into their house,
the money that we had given to other people, they gave us the money.
When we moved into the house and we had no appliances, and all of a sudden within a month, two people blessed us with fridge, dishwasher. Fridge, freezer, dishwasher, what was that? It's a washing machine, all matching silver.
Yeah, also.
Yeah. And when I was on my knees and I was saying, God, why would someone do this? And then God showed me that every seed produces of its own kind. I was like, what do you mean? He says, oh, Nathan, if you go out into the garden and you plant sunflower seeds or plant apple seeds, you're going to have an apple tree, or sunflowers are going to, is going to be the harvest. What you're going to see, fruit. But he says, Nathan, don't you remember when in obedience about 3 years ago, you bought that person an appliance, you sowed a seed into that person's life, you reaped a harvest of free appliances in the moment of when you needed them. So I actually want to inspire people, hopefully, to say, get giving. Like, a seed can answer things that money can't answer. So when you're thinking, oh, let me just hold on to my little £100 or my £1,000 or whatever your money is, actually, if you took that £1,000 and you get from a genuine heart, not like because you want something in return, but give, you'll see that doors will open up that you can't shut. And yeah, that's this season. Trust and finance.
Trust and finance.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that episode about trust and finance, you know.
Why? Why did you enjoy it? Why?
I
know why. Like, you have been beaming.
Nah, because
especially talking about giving, that's your thing.
You know, it's humbling, like, when you reflect back on how far we've come so far.
Mm-hmm.
We're just getting started, I believe, still. But to be able to raise 4 daughters, have each other, have staff, paying staff, knowing that we came from £5 to our name, you have to really give God thanks.
Yeah.
Because it is, you know, it's amazing. And I just really want to encourage people that, like, whatever they're thinking about or dreaming about, is that they can do it, but make sure you don't cut corners. So I would say have regular financial meetings, develop a culture of giving, and make sure that you have budgets and stick to them, because, like, some people feel that you can cheat the process. No, you can't. Mm-mm. If you want to build something with excellence, and
that's something that lasts,
yeah. do it right. I spoke to a friend, I won't say his name, it's actually family, and he's developed his organization, and he was just asking a question around, he's received some resources, and he was like, I think that I can, like, get some of the stuff that I've asked for free. What should I do? And I said, you know what, whatever you're doing, whatever you've asked for, spend the money on. Don't, even if it looks like it's an opportunity, do things right the first time, and you will see that your thing will grow. So yeah, how have you found this episode?
I found this, you know, it's been nice to watch your expressions. You were like super duper like excited about the giving stuff, and I think it kind of shows or highlights your personality, that actually if we had £1 million or millions and millions of pounds, you would literally be just scattering that money and that seed, as you put it, everywhere to try and help as many people as possible.
Remember, it was my 40th. If we won't talk about what I did, but I took people out for dinner and gave them gifts.
Yeah, you gave
them.
And
they was like,
gave them gifts.
This is like,
what?
Hold on, we're here for your birthday. And it says, no, it's just out of my, I'm just so happy. And because of the individuals who they were and the impact that they've had on my life, I wanted to honor them.
Yeah.
And just say thank you. Like, thank you for your investment. Thank you for your years of counsel, your prayers, because I'm seeing the manifestation of that investment, and I want you to know that I'm incredibly grateful. And I guess what's just triggered in my mind is some of this topic really feeds into our passion behind the legacy planning and financial preparation events that we're doing. And we know that we're going to be starting our road show, and we're going to London, we're going to Manchester, Bristol, and then back to Birmingham. And yeah, because I don't believe that this is just, we're not no one special. Like, God's plan is that everyone will live a life exceedingly abundantly above all you could think and imagine, if they would trust and believe and just listen to some of the principles that He's had for them. I don't feel that God wants us to have lack. Yes, we'll have hard times, but this is not a message that is for Nathan and Sabrina. This is a global message.
Yeah, that you can fail in business. Things can fall down. You can be owing money, but you can stop, pause, reflect, and start again. And I think if you're prepared to be humble and teachable and learn from those past mistakes that you've made, then the sky's the limit. You can really bounce back. You can literally do that. And I think that's
in
the
church
thing.
you would say resurrection power.
Oh, gosh.
But I understand that we're speaking to a
jump.
more global audience. So for the global majority, one would say we've bounced back. We've like the phoenix, we've rise from the ashes, and we're still rising.
Absolutely. So guys, this has been the Between the Sheets podcast with me, Sabrina Dennis, and
me, Nathan Dennis, Between the Sheets.
Listen, we want you to like, subscribe, comment, drop us comments, all that good stuff on all the platforms that you
Hit the notification. Hit it. Don't scroll past. Hit it now. Go.